Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today, we're going to be talking about Hedera and Hbar. So with that being said, let's just dive in and let's start off with the big news. So, we've seen a big announcement today from, of course, the Hbar Foundation regarding Alcott Group. This is a pretty big organization, and we do see from Shane Higdon from Hedera, of course, the Hbar Foundation. One of the goals of the Hbar Foundation was to increase commerce in the Hbar economy. Thank you, Alcott Group, for helping us do just that by creating a multi-billion-dollar market opportunity built on Hedera. And yes, if you guys did miss the news from today, it is pretty big. We do see we're excited to announce that Alcott IO, the digital arm of established climate leader and project developer Alcott Group, is onboarding Alcott's 500 million metric ton portfolio of carbon credits as on-chain real-world assets into the HEDERA Guardian ecosystem. This is an absolute massive announcement, right on par with, of course, what Hedera has been really kind of targeting for a very long time, around a lot of GC members and also projects built upon the Hedera ecosystem. And what exactly is that? Well, it's the net zero transition. Call it a scam, call it what you will, because everyone has their own opinions on this. But at the end of the day, this is something that is being heavily focused on. And for a lot of people, this is a big deal. And from, of course, Alcott, we do see focusing on climate action to accelerate the transition to net zero, a big opportunity. And we already know that this has been a long-term focus going all the way back to March of 2021 when we seen EDF join the GC. Their overall goal was to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050 and produce increasingly low carbon electricity. So outside of this, let's go back into this announcement and really kind of address just how big this is. So through this landmark relationship, we are creating a new generation of climate assets that are fully auditable through digitized and open source methodologies via the Guardian, enabling us in our mission to bring the balance sheet of the planet to the public ledger. Get used to hearing that quote, because this is probably, I want to say, the third, maybe fourth time that we've seen it in an announcement from Hedera. And it seems as though they are really kind of fully focused on that heavily. And I do think that Hedera is probably the only DLT, and yes, I mean this, in this space to truly make that a reality. Hedera over the last couple months has become a massive leader around this space, and ultimately speaking, going all the way back to 2021 initially, is when we start to really kind of see Hedera make a name for themselves within this space. I've said it 100 times over, and I will continue to say it and sound like a broken record. Hbar is no damn joke. If you are a part of this space, if you fully focus on utility, Hedera should be in your scope. It 100% needs to be focused on. And I believe that you cannot go wrong having Hbar in your portfolio. Now, with that being said, we do see as a result, the Guardian enables contextual and granular digitally attested data by actors fulfilling roles within these methodologies for projects in the Alcott portfolio. The Guardian has been a big focus of mine simply because of all the names tied to it. This has become a major tool in terms of, leveraging Hedera for good in terms of emissions, carbon offsets, carbon credits, things like that. It's a big thing, right? Outside of this, we do see by digitizing the traditional methods of measuring, reporting, and verification, DMRV, and following the GBB Council Interwork Alliance DMRV framework, the Guardian enables completely transparent, auditable, and fully discoverable information surrounding these Alcott carbon credits. This massively simplifies and streamlines the verification process as we transition to a more digitally native validation process by independent third parties, whilst greatly improving ecological data transparency, moving us a step towards enabling more trusted carbon markets. Alongside enabling a new generation of climate assets to be created, this integration of Alcott's portfolio enables us to begin to open the books on climate finance, bringing unprecedented transparency to financial flows within the carbon markets. Through DMRV, we enable new possibilities in the market in which accounts on Hedera enable climate market actors to both receive and give value while also sourcing attestations from these same accounts and corresponding DID key/VCs on Hedera as a public network. This innovation in financial transparency allows project developers to demonstrably show the financial equity of a project and the financial flows to the stakeholders involved, all on the public ledger. We together envision a future of carbon markets that can simply show a carbon bought and without a financial audit the percentage of funds that flow to a community, what they're being used for, and funds flowing to all stakeholders involved. Again, Hedera is becoming a leader, especially around the world in terms of net zero focus, but also outside of that, I do think that they have been making a global name for themselves. And I think outside of crypto, right, like one of the biggest problems that we see is legitimate use case, right? Everyone talks about how this is going to do that, this is going to do this, but at the end of the day, a lot of it is speculation. With Hedera, you don't get speculation, you actually get legitimate use case, and also a full focus of what they were trying to do. There's no real speculation here. There's no real, hyping the substance, if you will. It's all focused on what is happening here. And when we look at some of the numbers behind these portfolios, it is significant. And I do think that, like I said, going into the next bull run, let it be known that the retail sector doesn't really care about a lot of things. But when we look at Hedera, I do think that Hedera is going to be a spotlighted project. Again, I don't really care to look at, where HBAR is going to go in value. I've always said $3 to $6, right? We've outlined targets of even higher valuations, long term. But in this next run up, I'm really kind of just targeting anything above $1 to $3. I think that that's the full focus, right? I believe long term that HBAR is going to obviously be a blue chip in any portfolio that it is in. Of course, if you do realize it. And as we look at the ever-changing space of digital assets and digitized, technology and tokens, Hedera has solidified itself and its overall reputation around the carbon credits, carbon offset, sustainability markets. And I think that going forward on in time, I think that that's going to be a big, significant thing because, again, as we look at a lot of the use cases, even around finance itself, they want sustainability because, again, it has been a full-on focus on sustainability and the overall viewpoint of the environment. I mean, it really has become a big problem around Ethereum and Bitcoin in the last couple years. And with Hedera, you don't really need to worry about that. Now, outside of all of this, I have been looking at DeFi, and it seems as though some achievements are being made on Hedera. Going all the way back to September 9th, I know it's a little bit in the past, but we do see comparing the TVL growth of Saucer Swap to the broader DeFi market over the past years reveals an exciting trend. And by the way, Saucer Swap has been an absolute incredible decentralized exchange on Hedera. When we look at Uniswap and the market cap that Uniswap has, hit, I'm actually very excited about Sauce in the future. Now, does that mean that I'm holding a significant amount of Sauce? No. In fact, when we really kind of look at Saucer Swap and Sauce as a token, I don't really hold a ton of Sauce. I don't know how much I hold. The last time I checked, it was a very small amount, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. But I might be looking at accumulating more because, I do believe in Saucer Swap. I have been, really kind of focused on them ever since their launch. And this has been a project that I'm very excited about in the future around Hedera because this is a pioneer around the DeFi space on Hedera. But we do see since the launch, Saucer Swap has climbed the ranks on DeFi Llama, currently sitting at number 40 of all decentralized exchanges. The future of Hedera DeFi is bright. And here you guys have the TVL growth, Saucer Swap, in relation to the broader DeFi market. And again, as we look at TVL on Hedera has been pretty stable. If we actually look at it, so Saucer Swap obviously is the number one here, sitting at about roughly $27 million. We have seen the TVL on Hedera grow astronomically all the way to about roughly almost $60 million. So far, we have come down, right? We're sitting at about roughly $52 million. But most of the DeFi market, if I do say so, it has been kind of wiped out. 24-hour volume on Hedera right now around the DeFi space has been sitting at about roughly almost $300,000. But remember, interest around the space has been practically dead. I mean, even Ethereum has been flatlined. I mean, going all the way back to April of 2022 when it was sitting at about $123 billion, it is now sitting at $47 billion, which shows you just how dead the DeFi space has been. And by the way, the volume in the 24-hour period on Ethereum has been sitting at about roughly $872 million. Comparing this to like the bull run, it's a big change. So again, DeFi has been pretty much dead, but Hedera has been holding strong. And I do think that going into the next major cycle, DeFi on Hedera is going to grow astronomically simply because of the low fixed fees. And also, just how efficient it is compared to Ethereum. And also, JP Morgan recently said that Ethereum has been lackluster. Outside of that, though, SaucerSwap. So SaucerSwap has been seeing an incredible growth in terms of TVL. When we look at the TVL, comparing it back to its launch, it has grown tremendously. And even when we look at the 24-hour volume, this is sitting at about roughly $242,000, almost $243,000, which is very exciting. And again, I think that going forward on in time, as we really kind of look at SaucerSwap, I think that this is becoming a leader around Hedera. It's almost like Uniswap, if you will. I mean, it did get forked from Uniswap anyways, but this is our very own Uniswap on Hedera, which I've always kind of compared it to since, again, it is a fork. But this is why I say like SaucerSwap does have the opportunity to become the next big thing. Because I remember when Uniswap did launch, I also remember how big Uniswap became during 2021. I do think that a new Uniswap could rise, and I think that SaucerSwap is right there with it, because when we look at SaucerSwap and how efficient the Hedera space is compared to Ethereum, it's night and day. But also, as we look at all of the chains, I know that Hedera is sitting at number like roughly, it's like sitting at almost number 40. Going into the next major run-up, we could see Hedera, really kind of rise in the ranks of the DeFi space. And I do think that it will, right? I think that right now, most of the space doesn't really care. I think that there's not a lot of retail sector in this space anymore. For those that are actually out there, that are watching the videos, that are actually doing the research, I want to just let you guys know that like you are a very, very select amount of the retail sector that is actually still here. And that's also why I say like, we need to be focused on a lot of these tokens that are seeing massive announcements, yet no massive price increase, because guess what? Demand just isn't here. This market is practically dead, if I'm being completely honest with you all. I mean, go look at Bitcoin, for an example. You could just see how dead this market is. But, I think that going forward on in time, we are getting very, very excited because, in the next couple months and into even 2024, we could see this market change tremendously. I mean, we have seen things change almost overnight in this space. XRP is a perfect example of that. Once we seen the announcement around the lawsuit, I mean, overnight it went up like 100%. Again, that's without a bull run, right? Like that's just off of a hyped up announcement. So I think that going into the next major cycle run, I think that we need to kind of leave hype at the front door. And I think that we really kind of need to focus on utility. And I think that Hedera is becoming a star within that space. And I think that they've always been a star around that space. I just think that a lot of people didn't really care. Even when we look at traditional finance and DeFi itself, like the reason why I talk about DeFi is because DeFi is a crucial piece of the puzzle around crypto. And going on into like the future, a lot of people think that DeFi is going to be dead. I just don't think that is going to be the case. As we look at traditional finance and we look at stablecoins and things like that, I think that we're going to see a lot of players, like even PayPal, right, embracing DeFi for what it is, but also still having their Web 2 touch around it, which is, again, traditional finance. And we know that stablecoins have been a big focus point. CBDCs obviously are another thing, but outside of that, I still believe that we will see these two worlds merge, and I'm not the only one, right? Like even the IMF said DeFi and traditional finance must work together. And this is where we see decentralized and traditional finance can thrive in tandem to fund renewable energy and other pressing needs, but only with clear standards and rules. And again, as we look at regulations and things like that, it's needed. But I do think that DeFi is going to be around forever. It might not look as much as what people want it to look like, but I still think that's going to be around for a while. And I think that these two worlds will merge together because they're already kind of starting to. I mean, look at what's happening around some of these major pioneers around the banking sector. They are moving in on stablecoin adoption. They are tapping into DLT. Even if it's private ledger technology, they're still tapping into it. They see the value behind DeFi. So I'm very excited about the future, especially around some of these assets like, HBAR, because, they're tied to networks like Hedera, for example, that are becoming pioneers around finance, renewable energy, and so much more. And I think that gets extremely overlooked at this moment in time, simply because the space is practically dead and people think like, oh, well, these tokens are practically dead, which is a very good thing technically if you are here and you actually see the value, because it allows you to buy cheap tokens. I mean, right now, look at how many tokens you can get for $1, right? So it's pretty significant. And again, we need to focus on all of the good news. I know that a lot of you do, because I see the comments saying, hey, all this good news, yet the token's not pumping, like what's going on? I want you guys to understand that, this good news, whether the token is doing anything, still matters greatly, because this is network adoption. And when you have network adoption, guess what powers the network? HBAR. And with that becomes a supply and demand thing, where you have a lot of demand of the network, which demands the token. And guess what? The supply is only 50 billion. Even if all of the supply was out there today, 50 billion for a token like HBAR on a network like Hedera is a very small amount. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on, because I'm free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Peace out.